So thank you so much for joining us now. My name's Laura Overton. I head up towards Maturity. We're a benchmarking organisation, and we concentrate on really identifying the best practices of learning and development. And we've been doing that over the last 10 years. So what I want to do today is to just kind of be thinking through some of the stuff that we've been learning and how do we make sense of it when we go back to work. So just to kind of ask you, I'm just wondering what's captured your attention today as you've been going through the show. These are just some of the things that's been capturing my attention. Obviously, a lot of commentary on social and informal learning. Does that resonate with some people? Yeah. Also, there's been a lot of debate through on the mobile platforms. How do we connect with mobile learning as well? And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on the technology side. The other thing that has been capturing my attention, whether it's been here or the main conference, is all of the stuff around how do we design learning to engage the learner? How do we connect with the new learner who's very, very busy in the workplace now? And how do we design learning in new ways and fresh ways, whether it's through onboarding, through the processes that we bring into learning as well, through reflection or storytelling. So I think this has been really powerful today in today's event. The other thing that's kind of been bubbling up all over the place as well has been the hot topics. The MOOC discussion has been going on all over the place, and the implications of MOOCs for corporate learning. But equally, the whole area of gamification as well. How do we make sense of that? So these are just some of the things that, as I say, have captured my attention, and I think possibly by the nods in the audience, they're things that have captured your attention as well. I think also we've had a lot of great advice today. We've had practical stuff about how do we start small and work it up into a pilot. We've had lessons for how to make the best of mobile learning. And we've also been looking at some engagement stuff as well. So some really practical things that have been going on. So I guess when we're coming down to leaving the event, going to the Hand and Flowers or wherever you're going to go, or going back to work, it's great to come together and to be stimulated and find like-minded people, but how do we actually turn what we've seen back into action? What are the kind of ideas that we need to be thinking about? So I just wondered, what's actually holding you back potentially? When you go back to work, are you thinking, I'm really looking forward to taking what I've learned and applying it? Or are you thinking, you know what, I just don't think people are going to get it? So who's really excited about putting everything they've learned into practice? Let's use a digital voting system. Brilliant. And how many of you are thinking, my engagement with stakeholders, I've got a lot of convincing that I'm going to have to do in order to be thinking. So we've got some with two hands coming up as well. So I think the key thing is that we need to be aware of what's holding us back. And in our organisation, we investigate trends and practices within learning and development. And last year, we found that actually there's a lot of concern with the learning and development profession at the moment about how do we take these great ideas about modernising learning, bringing transformation to our learning, delivering a performance. But there are things that are holding us back. People are thinking about the cost, the maintenance, the setup. A lot of learning and development professionals, and 500 L&D people took part in this study last year, are saying, we're not sure that our staff have got the skills that they need in order to embrace this new world. We always question that, by the way, because often we've been hearing today about our staff are embracing this new world without us, and we need to really start to be thinking about that. I think a lot of people have been concerned, although not if you've been around the stands today, about the quality of what's available and what we can bring into the marketplace. And also potentially reluctance by managers and kind of a staff reluctance and a reluctance by our own learning and development teams. So I don't want to end on a bit of a negative, but I think it's important to realize that realistically, we have got some challenges to be able to make. And what I want to just share with you is some tools and techniques to help you overcome some of these challenges, for you to be able to kind of make sense of everything we've heard, to cut through the noise and actually deliver what you need in your own organization. So how can we overcome those challenges? Well, we believe that actually what's quite important is that we actually start to base our decisions on evidence. What we get here is a fantastic informal benchmarking experience. We go away, we are inspired, we are connected with each other, and we've just learned so much from each other. But when we go back to work, what is it that we've heard that will work for us back in our own working place? And it's quite interesting. Peter Sheaves from the CIPD, as an organisation, they are looking to kind of base their decisions moving forward on research. And he's saying that actually there are too many occasions where we tend to take what we've learned anecdotally and take it back and say, I've heard a great idea, and then we're surprised when people don't necessarily jump on the bandwagon and share our passion when we get back to work. So what we're thinking here about is the fact that many other parts of the business are used to making their decisions based on evidence, solid research evidence, an evidence-based approach to improving business performance. And what I want to share with you today is an opportunity to perhaps take some research evidence back with you into the workplace that will help you make that business case and engage the stakeholders that you need to engage with. And we've been doing our research study where we've been investigating why does a technology-enabled learning strategy seem to work in some organizations and not in others. Now, we've been asking this question persistently for the last 10 years, and we've been gathering a body of evidence from a wide range of organizations, from the private, public, not-for-profit sector, small, large, multinational organizations, to kind of try and uncover what is it that what we've heard today, what will work if we put it into practice. We also have taken in the voice of the learner as well, and bringing in the understanding of how our staff are changing year on year in terms of identifying good practice. We've made the research completely freely available to anyone who wants to use it. And many of the organizations that you've seen around here have said, our industry needs independent research, and they've made it possible for us to bring so much data to you to help you. So I always like to say a massive thank you to these guys, because they value independence for our marketplace, and they want to help us to make the right decisions for us as an organization. So how can we use this evidence? Well, first and foremost, there's a report that we did last year called the New Learning Agenda. And what it's done is we've identified some bottom line business impact of using these new technologies in creative way. What is it actually doing for businesses? And if you are going back and you're trying to justify spend on something new or looking at a new approach, then what's good to have in your hands is some evidence that will help you say, if we could deliver this kind of efficiency, will it help me? Will it make sense? Does it make sense for us to start discussing this kind of program internally within the organization? So this research has been based on over 1,000 organizations who've told us the kind of business impact that doing things differently, like we've been learning about today, makes on their organization. They don't just talk about efficiency, though. We've also got amazing data that actually shows the value that you can add back to the organization. So if you're thinking about, potentially moving from a course type approach to a 70-20-10 approach that's thinking about performance, what does that mean in your organization? What could it mean? Now, if we found on average people are reporting a 19% increase in staff engagement by doing things differently. And David Price, when he was opening the conference today, was talking about the fact that organizations, smart organizations who engage their staff better are thinking about innovation and they're thinking about results. And our research has shown that smart learning and development departments are getting improvement in staff engagement by doing things differently. And again, by using this evidence, say if only you got half of that staff engagement improvement, what kind of conversation could you open up when you go back to work tomorrow to talk about the opportunities that you've seen today? So using good, solid evidence to help you make your business case back at work is something that we'd really encourage you to use. Also, we've got so much evidence on how you can justify the new. If you've been taken by kind of the mobile learning kind of approach, for example, that's been going on today, you know, a new research report that was released today can help you show back into your organization the extent to which other organizations are starting to embrace this. So it's not just you going back with a brand new idea, but 70% of organizations are now thinking about mobile and tablet learning. And the top learning companies, those that are getting the best results, are really being proactive in things like bring your own device or providing staff with smartphones to be able to connect and to use their learning in that way. So again, using evidence helps you to make your business case. And you need to choose the right evidence for you to make the right business case, but it's out there, it's available to you, and it's completely free of charge. The other thing that we want to kind of encourage you to think about is about how we can use the evidence that we've gathered from top learning companies in the last 10 years to help you improve engagement. How can you connect your staff with these new learning solutions that you're hoping to embrace? And we've analyzed those organizations who are in the purple actually reporting the most results compared with the average. We've been saying, okay, well, what is it that they are doing that the others aren't? And if we can distill that in some way, that helps us make sense about what we need to do to get the same results. So one of the programs that we've introduced this year is looking at the engagement index. And if you want to really think about engagement, the research that we've identified has really flagged up 8 steps that the top learning companies are consistently making, from understanding their learners. And today there's been a lot, I don't know if you agree with me, a lot about who are our learners, not just the millennials, but the knowledge workers, the people who are stressed by time, understanding them in their situation and their context. How can we support them? We've been talking a lot today, for example, as well, about how do we make learning more engaging. Now, we've got the data that says if you do these things, you will get the engagement. So it's not just you taking back a great idea, but the concept of supporting learning in the workplace, the concept of celebrating successes, recognition, that was something that David raised this morning, how important recognition is for individuals. Organizations in their learning strategy, when they are doing these things, they are seeing engagement increase. So again, this is what we're doing here is let's take the data and distill it down into things that we know work for you. And so that you can take this information back into the workplace and say, this is why we need to consider doing things differently, doing things consistently. So in essence, what we're talking about here is a kind of an evidence-based approach to modernizing learning. And this is just a very high-level model of what modern learning, new learning, potentially can look like. It's been generated as a result of us analyzing the behavior of top learning companies over the last number of years. When you look at this, two-way business alignment, the things we've been talking about today, things like how do we respond faster to need, how do we transform learning, how do we simplify? How do we build the skills of the learning and development? When we look at this, it seems like it's common sense. I don't know if that's the same with you, but this makes sense to me. The top learning companies, when they're doing these things, are getting the results. And yet many of us are still struggling with how do we make this a reality? Those of us who've been coming along to learning technologies over the years, and I believe it's been going for 17 years now, these are common themes that come up regularly at the conference. And yet, because of the challenges we have back in the workplace, it's often very difficult to kind of turn this into a reality. So how do we kind of take all of this visionary stuff that we all get and we all understand, we're all inspired and motivated by inside, and how do we kind of take that, cut through that noise and turn it into common sense actions that we can do tomorrow that will help us on that journey towards maturity? And so the last thing I want to kind of leave you with today is really a three-step approach to say, well, how do we take all of this stuff, the stuff we know works, and turn it into a reality in a way that makes sense within our own organizations? And I want to just share with you really a concept of a three-step plan to make what we've learned today, make this big data personal, relevant to you, to help you take the steps that you need to in your own organization. And really what we're talking about here is the opportunity to consider benchmarking in our own organizations. Now, other parts of the business will use benchmarking as a way of improving performance quite regularly. But with learning and development, it's really difficult for us, because if we benchmark with what's normally available, the amount of money spent on training or the number of hours or the completion rates, it doesn't stimulate change and action and performance in our own organization. It just gives us, well, information. It's not information that drives performance. But what we are inviting you to do is to kind of take everything that you've learned today and maybe spend an hour reflecting on that against a model of good practice that's been established by 3,000 organizations. The things that make sense, the common sense for you to sit down with your team, maybe you do it and then share the results with your manager to actually say, okay, well, what are we doing against good practice that's already out there? So that first step is to say, let's step back, to take what's inspired, but let's step back and let's apply common sense to some of those areas. So the first step is to really take part and review your strategy against the effective practices that have helped us establish an evidence-based approach to learning. The second step is all about comparing. How have you done compared with the others? And when these comparisons, and they're completely confidential, by the way, when the comparisons come back for you, you can then take your own small data and help to take big insights from it to help you make the decisions. The kind of information you'll get back is your performance benchmarks. How are you delivering against some of these things that are so important to business at the moment? And how are you actually delivering against things that are important for learning and development as well? So again, that data will help you stimulate conversations in your organization because they're private, they're personal to you and relevant to you. The other thing that you'll get back from this is kind of a roadmap to help you make sense about what to focus on first. We've been talking about alignment, performance support, understanding our learners, but when you get your feedback, it will show you how strong you are in various different areas. And that then will help you say, okay, well, I can see now that the area we're going to concentrate on this year that will make the difference to some of those important benchmarks is performance support, or is designing learning differently. So this helps you break down your priorities for your organization. And the key thing about this is that then it helps you to make the right decisions. And obviously, when we're working on anything like this, the key thing, and we love research, our head of research is here, and we love the numbers. But we love the numbers because they help us make good decisions. And ultimately, it's about how do we act, how do we change as a result of understanding our own environment and how we compare with our peers. So action is definitely the third step in this. So we've talked a lot, I know, today. It's been coming up and bubbling up in the conversations about the big data. Are we using big data? Our businesses are really interested in big data on customers. But I'd like to challenge us. Are we using the small data that's available to us in our own industry to make better decisions, to make informed decisions? Are we using the small personalized data that's freely available to all of us to help inform our decisions, inform our decision-making process and our engagement with stakeholders internally with the team? So, I think it's all very well for us to talk about these big practices, but we need to be thinking about how do we make it work ourselves in our own organization. So I guess I just want to leave you now because I haven't made this interactive because I know it's 4:30 and the pub beckons and I want to give you a chance to catch everyone you wanted to see before you go. But I'd like to ask you, when did you last take a moment to stop and reflect about your own learning strategy, your own technology-enabled strategy? We know that reflection, a recent research piece in Harvard Business Review, improves performance, and yet we're encouraging our staff to reflect, but we often don't take time out to reflect on our own business and our own processes. Today has been great. It's given us inspiration. It's given us the motivation to want to improve performance. But that stepping back, that reflecting on what we're doing and what makes sense for our next priority step is a critical aspect of that. And so we'd like to kind of invite you to schedule time out to get involved with the benchmark process, to get involved in using the research that's already available to think through your own strategy. Now, we know that it's really difficult to schedule time out, so we're going to suggest if you want to get involved, schedule an hour on Friday afternoon. Get involved. You can connect with us on Twitter and in other social media during that time. We'll be there to answer questions. But, make a date with yourself to help prioritize, to use evidence, to help you think through what is going to work from today. Use that data, use that evidence, and kind of cut through the noise. So I'm hoping that this session this afternoon has given you some inspiration about how you can use an evidence-based approach to take your ideas and enthusiasm and turn them into results and reality for your own business. So please do join us. Do let us know if you'd like to be involved in this process. We can give you some information. Everyone who takes part in the benchmark will get some immediate reports coming back on to help on engagement, and we've got an exclusive report on raising engagement with mandated learning that you'll get immediately. But you'll also get that personalized feedback on your strategy for you in your organization as well. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you. I didn't expect this number of people at a 4:30 session. We really do appreciate it. The Towards Maturity team are here. Marnie is here, Jenny is here, Levi and Nigel at the back as well. So if you want to ask us more about the benchmarking process, any questions, please let us know. But leave us your cards and we will make sure that you get access to all of the information that you need from today. So thank you very, very much for staying. I really appreciate it. So thank you.